Hello, everybody. This is the Haitian FREE Thinkers radio show. My name is Reggie, and I'm joined by my co-host James. James, are you there?
Yes, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, good. And so this is another Saturday night. We're coming to you live from Blog Talk Radio. Haitian Free Thinkers is one of the world's few secular groups for Haitians. We are a place where Haitians who are secular can gather. This includes atheists, agnostics, humanists, and the like. Haitian Free Thinkers is dedicated to promoting, embracing, and celebrating the secular values in the Haitian community. It is our goal to communicate to our fellow Haitians and non-Haitian citizens alike of the world our views on religion, superstition, and to stay well informed. We strive to educate, to share vital, pertinent, and practical knowledge and information and advice for those who need it most. Haitian Free Thinkers share our passion, share our goal. So we're just going to jump right into tonight's episode, news and views. James, how was your week?
Yeah, it was very good. It's a very good, positive week. Had my kids and just relaxing, man. It was a good week. Went by kind of fast, really fast, actually.
Yep, another fast week.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode, we're back to the 30 to 45-minute format. So we want to try to get to all of the material. But I want to let everybody know that if they wish to call in, they can call in at 646-652-4442, 646-652-4442. Actually, the clock is showing 1 hour, 55 minutes. So looks like
they have a little time over.
Yeah, we have more than enough time to get the information out there. Mm-hmm. And tonight I'm using the home phone once again because I was listening to one of the recent podcasts and to me I sounded kind of low, but hopefully this will be a better audio experience for the listeners. As for myself, my week was good. It also went kind of fast. We had some snow in the local area, which basically shut down the city for about 2 days or so because we have hills in the Atlanta area and they don't have enough equipment to go and spread out ice and gravel to prevent the roads from being slippery and unsafe. So I was able to get a few extra days off, which was appreciated. So that's the big news as far as my week is concerned. So I had the opportunity to play with my kids, and they're doing good. So I'm thankful for that.
Okay, did you get a chance to play in the snow up there?
I went outside with the girls. I wouldn't say I played. I almost bust my butt, a few times.
Okay.
But the girls, they certainly enjoyed it because we're Florida people, so we don't know how to act when it snows.
Exactly.
I mean, it was like about 2 inches of snow, so it wasn't like a blizzard or nothing like that where I could just jump in a pile of snow and have play fights or whatever. So I was in the protection mode and just watching the girls, making sure they don't come back dead or sick. So
okay, because I've seen a lot of people making videos of the snow and they're trying to melt it and everything like that. So I was just wondering if your experience turning around snow was different or anything like that, because I've been seeing these weird videos of people trying to set the snow on fire.
Set the snow on fire?
Yeah, they're trying to say like there's maybe some chemical in the snow or something that's preventing it from melting in the water if you strike a match, but it could be, I don't know what it is. They're trying to say that the snow is like burning. It turns the snow kind of black when you try to melt it. There's been a couple of videos of people saying there's something wrong with the snow.
Well, perhaps you can send me some of
I sure would.
some of that video, those videos, so I can examine it.
Mm-hmm.
But last week, we had one caller, which is excellent, and basically, the gentleman told me about a situation that he was having, where his nephew, or I think, he lives with his auntie, and the auntie has a son who's 18 years old, and the auntie is very religious and doesn't want the son, the 18-year-old, to basically hang out with the caller who was an atheist. So it was a pretty crazy situation, and it's just a reminder that, for some people it's not very easy for them to be themselves.
You're right.
And that I kind of have a luxury. We have a luxury for, being able to hang out and talk and be ourselves and discuss the things that we like to discuss. And I wanted to remind everybody that, James has certain interests that things that he want to bring to the show. So let everybody know what kind of topics that, you're interested in, and we'll try to, educate the people about.
Okay, I want to talk about the Amanda Knox situation and about the extradition that she may be facing from the United States. I was wondering because since she's been found guilty in another country of basically of murder, and I was wondering about the extradition process with the United States. Would they be willing to extradite her to Italy, even though that she's been facing charges as far as double jeopardy goes, and as far as like the evidence from, but and then I also wanted to talk about about George Zimmerman, the guy who killed Trayvon Martin. He's actually signed up to do celebrity boxing, and actually, he doesn't want to win any money. If he wants all the money to go to charity. So I mean, that's another good story that popped up, and I was very interested in. And it said there's a few people already talking about they want to take this shot and beat him up, I guess.
Yes. So the George Zimmerman situation. The first thing that came to mind was that I thought that this was not a.
You thought it was a hoax?
I thought it was a hoax. I didn't think it was a real story because it's like it's not a good move on his part as far as public relations is concerned. He had gotten arrested after the trial, I think, for something else, and
he's been arrested twice actually after the trial.
Twice. Oh.
Yeah. Once his wife had called and said that she threatened him with a gun, and then it was his the new girlfriend. But what are you gonna do? They can't lock him up. They won't lock him up. Best thing to do, I guess, is wait till he really does something.
Well, he hasn't been able to do a lot of positive things during the trial and after the trial. So for him to create publicity around himself in that manner, I just wonder what he's thinking, because I just know a lot of people not just want to fight him, but they want to straight up kill him.
Yeah, I think it's a whole PR type of thing,
Yeah, so I'm like, of all the things he could have came up with, he came up with that because he knows that there's a lot of animosity against him,
exactly.
And it's gonna generate a lot of publicity and so I think when I read the article that there wasn't anybody that had signed up to fight him yet.
Oh, there's been a couple of people who already put tweets out and like saying that they want to be the first one to fight him. The game, the rap of the game, he was like the first person because he has a Trayvon Martin tattoo on him.
What?
Yeah, he has a Trayvon Martin tattoo on him.
Oh wow.
So Exactly. He put out a tweet already saying that, yeah, he wants to sign up. He wants to do it. He said it would be mostly just to punish him, just to beat him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the rapper. The rapper of the game already said he wants to be the first one. He wants to be the one to fight him. And he said he wouldn't even fight him for, he just said he just want to beat him for the family, for the, you know what I'm saying, for I guess the pride of the family.
Now, if I remember correctly, since this is a fundraiser, like, how does the money work? Like, would Game have to pay like a set amount of money, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll probably have to pay a certain amount of money, and it'll go to charity. Other people may call and, or they want to, say, hey, I want to put money more behind it or something, and it'll just go straight to more to charity. So
basically, it sounds like if me and you want to have the opportunity to fight him, I guess we have to outbid each other.
Probably have to outbid each other, or I don't know. Of course they're gonna pick a celebrity, a more famous celebrity name. And you got a Game, the rapper of the Game.
I wonder if he has a choice in who he fights, because let's say the Game puts up more money and whatnot, but he knows that he's probably going to get hurt, so he chooses the second, third, fourth, fifth person, maybe a female, I don't know, someone who he thinks that won't hurt him as bad, and he says, okay, I'll fight that person. You think that's going to happen?
No, the promoter, they're going to go for the biggest name, who's going to bring in the biggest money. It's all about money and promotion with them.
And if that's the case and the Game does win the sweepstakes, will it be like a real fight, or is it going to be some kind of scripted?
I'm sure it's going to be like real no-holds bars, probably just boxing rules. No kicking below the belt, biting, eye gouging, and stuff like that. But as far as like swinging, get in there and have at it.
I'm going to try to pull up the article as we speak, but who's going to be carrying that stuff? It's not going to be on like any. I don't think it didn't seem to be like a major pay-per-view event or whatever. Who's going to be doing that?
Remember the other celebrity boxers that came out? I think it was like on Fox, something like that. Because I remember they had I think they had like Danny Bonaducci. They had some other celebrities box a while back. It was like years ago though, but it was like on Fox or something. I forgot who they had. I think they had somebody like it was a basketball player against some real fat guy. I can't remember his name.
But generally speaking, it's washed up people who want money and attention, right? Basically,
because remember when Chris Brown and Drake had gotten a fight in the club? It was the same person actually came to Chris Brown and Drake and was like, "Hey, $1 million, what's up? Let's talk to go at it." And they were trying to get those two to fight.
That's pretty interesting. All right, everybody, you are listening to the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show. My name is Reggie, and my co-host is James. If you wish to call in, you can dial 646-652-4442, 646-652-4442. We just talked about George Zimmerman and his attempt to, quote-unquote, raise money for charity by fighting someone in a boxing match. And James just told me that the Game, the rapper, has applied and it's probably going to win the bid because, we know that he has a little bit of change in his pocket. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And basically to apply to fight George Zimmerman, you would have to email fightgeorge@hotmail.com. So I'm looking at the news thing right now to see if a date or anything like that. And
no, there's no. I don't think there's no date set. They're still trying to figure out who, when, and I think. And I
just see his picture with his fist up, and I just don't like the guy, man. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hate his face.
I think he knows he got away with it, and the least that he could do is just go away. But
Exactly.
so
It's like he keeps on sticking around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some quick bit of news. I applied to have the show go to iTunes,
Okay.
and I've been checking to see if it got accepted, and I think it did. But when I go to iTunes, I don't see the show listed when you search it, which is kind of weird. But it's been downloaded as a podcast that I'm subscribed to. So if I don't know if you have iTunes, but if you can search for Haitian Free Thinkers, I would appreciate it, or anybody else out there. It should be in the iTunes store by now, but whenever I do a search from my end, I can't seem to find it. But
I'll look it up when we get off the phone tonight.
Okay, that'll be great. Let me see. What else happened during the week?
Oh, the Amanda Knox retrial. Just I guess after the first time when she was found, the very first time she was found guilty, I think, and then they did an appeal. She was found not guilty. Then the court reappealed it, and then they had another trial, and they found her and her husband, her boyfriend, who was her boyfriend at the time. They found them both guilty of murder. And then, as far as the extradition, they were trying to say, would the United States make her go to Italy because of the extradition process that they have with each other? But they were saying that the United States probably wouldn't make her go back if they saw that the situation was similar, or if it was different to, I guess, the U.S. rules. Like if she went to trial and were found not guilty, or if she was found guilty the very first time, and depending on the situation, the United States would make her go. But since there's like a double jeopardy, they're trying to say that the United States might not make her go because of double jeopardy issue.
Can you give the background of who she is for those who don't know?
Okay. Amanda Knox is the American college student that was in Italy at the time, and her roommate ended up dead. Was, I guess, sexually assaulted and murdered. Her and her boyfriend, I forgot his name, but they were originally accused and charged with the murder. They went to trial, and I think they were found guilty. Then they appealed it, and they were found not guilty. I can't remember exactly what was the person's name who got killed and everything, though.
Yeah, she was from England, the victim.
Yeah, the victim, yeah.
It sounded like, from what I read, that they're accusing both of them of, like, double teaming her, and I think there was some kind of old sex situation involved.
Exactly. That's what kind of blew it up, because it was saying, a beautiful victim, there's a beautiful roommate, the boyfriend. I guess they wanted to do some wild, creepy, freaky stuff, and the girl turned it down, and so they murdered her. But then they're also trying to say that there was another guy who was, I guess, a police informant or whatever, but he was breaking into people's homes, and but they found his DNA and the same MO that he was using to break in other homes, and they used that as far as as part of all the evidence and everything to actually find the man and knock them guilty, because they found that this guy had they found evidence from this guy. So they're trying to say that's what makes the United States probably not going to send her back because of the situation. And
what would Italy do if the United States refused to let her go?
I don't know exactly what they were saying, but I do know that it would be, I don't know, it'd be issue. It would kind of be contradictory if the United States didn't send her back, because anytime the United States wants somebody, they always ask the other country to send them back.
Mhm.
In this point.
And the term double jeopardy, I think I know what it means, but can you clarify what it means?
It's when you've been formally charged with a certain crime, and then you go to trial and you're found not guilty of those charges. That means the judge or the state, no one can charge you for that same exact crime. If they charge you for murder of your roommate and you were tried and you're found not guilty, they can't say, well, we still think you did it, so we're going to recharge you again. No, they can't do that. They have to drop those charges, and you can never be brought up for that case again, because that would be called double jeopardy.
What if new evidence shows up that they didn't get the first time?
Still, unless you can charge them with another type of crime, and then then you can do it like that. But you can't. Certain crimes have statute of limitations on them. But some of them don't, like murder. They might say, if I hit you across the head with something and you died, you go to court and they say, well, James, we can't find that you killed them with that. So next thing you know, they might be like, well, we're going to charge you with aggravated battery. Like you hit them with something, you didn't kill them, but we're not going to charge you with murder this time. We're going to charge you with a different. You actually hit them though.
Oh, okay.
You can't charge me for murder. The second time, especially if I went to trial for murder and I got found not guilty, you can't charge me for murder. You only charge me for another crime, but not that same murder of that case.
Okay, sounds good. They found her guilty this current time, and so basically I guess they're just going to try to get her to be extradited, and that's basically what we're waiting for, right, to see if the United States cooperate or...
Mm-hmm. But see, it was kind of funny because now that they found her guilty, I didn't hear them say anything about them. I think the boyfriend, they found him at the border, trying to go to another country, but then they found him guilty. But I don't think he's in jail yet. The Italian court system is crazy. It's kind of you get lost trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's going to be something that we have to just wait and see what happens. Okay, so everybody, this is the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show. My name is Reggie, and you're listening to my co-host James. The guest calling number is 646-652-4442, 646-652-4442. The Haitian Free Thinkers radio show comes to you every Saturday evening at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Haitian Free Thinkers is one of the world's few secular groups for Haitians, by Haitians. You can reach us by emailing us at HaitianFreeThinkers@gmail.com. Once again, that's Haitian Free Thinkers, all one word, @gmail.com. Or you can call us at 678-820-9474. That is our official Google Voice number. Once again, that's 678-820-9474. We are officially on Instagram. We are definitely on Facebook. That's where we actually gather and do our thing. We are a group on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page, all by the same name, so you can just go ahead and look us up, Haitian Free Thinkers. So we are on Google+. We have a YouTube, and we're just trying to improve our social footprint, if you will. We applied for iTunes, so soon, if you can't already find us on iTunes, you could just look up Haitian Free Thinkers, and you'll be able to have access to all the episodes that we've already done on this show. Now, we discussed the possible time move to, I think we said, Saturday? So was it Saturday?
Yes, Saturday, or maybe maybe 2 or 3, maybe, I think. I can't remember exactly what time.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon, and the reason is because we want to have more interaction with the fans out there. We know that we do have some callers. We have some people following us, but we know that it does get a little bit challenging to stay up into the wee hours of the evening. For me, it's an advantage because I have children and we don't want them to interfere. But I think we can work it out where the children, go somewhere or cooperate, and hopefully we can get some more participation from the callers out there because there's a lot of people who are interested in what we do. They may not necessarily, want to stay up late, but they definitely try to catch up on the shows whenever they can. I was watching some YouTube videos because I like to watch different things on YouTube, and I don't know if you know, James, but there seems to be a pretty good amount of Muslims in Haiti, and what I'm trying to do is see if I can get one of them to contact me or us and discuss Islam in Haiti as far as why are people turning to that religion, what's so interesting about it, and it looks pretty authentic and real, but I'm not going to lie, I'm not really happy about the situation, and that's because basically I feel like we have some other things that we should be focusing on.
Exactly.
And I don't see Islam really doing anything in the long term that's beneficial. But, I mean, have you ever met any Haitian Muslims?
I'm trying to think. No, I wouldn't say I have because, no, I haven't.
Okay. Well, my first Muslim that I met was in middle school, and he was, my age, and he was part of the whole Nation of Islam type of Muslim. But, it was overall a good encounter because it opened my eyes to some differences in the community or whatever. But,
you know what? I guess I can say I did, because I studied the Muslim religion for a little while. Until the people I was around, I just seen that they were a little too radical for me.
Okay, so tell us about that. What do you mean by too radical?
Well, okay, this is when I was only maybe 19, 20, traveling from Florida to California, not knowing anybody, and met some people of different religions. I was already had a lot of questions about hearing and everything, and I wasn't going to church on a regular basis, so met this guy. He was next door neighbor of mine. Name was Jihad, and we used to have conversations, and at first I felt like, I was a whole different world was opening up to me. I was learning a lot of stuff, and then one day there was another friend of his that came over, and they were just sitting down, and they were just I remember the guy talking. He was like, "We need to do this, and we need to do that. We need to learn how to fly planes and all kinds of stuff." And I was like, "This dude sounds great." And this was right after 9/11 and stuff like that. And I was like, "This dude right here is kind of don't sound, this don't even sound right." So I was telling the dude every time they try to come over, I was like, "Nah, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, and I'm not home." So after a while, I just stopped studying and being a Muslim.
So even though the whole 9/11 thing went down, he was still talking reckless like that. Like he.
Yeah, and I'm not even gonna lie. What it was, I was kind of scared because when you become Muslim and you start learning, they started telling me and showing me videos and audios and how I'm being brainwashed and all this stuff like that, And then when the guy comes over one day and they're all talking, and this guy's talking about we need to do this and do that, and I'm like, no, I don't need to be doing none of this.
Yeah. You don't want to get in trouble with that. We actually have a caller.
No problem.
Let's take that caller. The caller is from area code 740.
It's your usual caller, Tony in Ohio.
Hey, Tony. What's going on?
Bro?
What's up, guys?
Nothing much, just another beautiful evening. Oh, by the way, everybody, this is February 1st. Well, February 2nd now officially, but so Black History Month has started. But Tony, what's going on, man?
None. I just didn't want to miss the show this time because I missed it. I think last week I was a little busy, and then I seen you were on, so I wanted to call in and BS with you guys a little bit.
Okay, we appreciate it. I'm going to let you know that I went back to our show that you first came on, and you gave us a lot of references, and I subscribed to Free Domain Radio.
I did as well.
And I started seeing some stuff by Mr. Molyneux.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing with the anarchy thing is quite interesting. And the latest thing that I learned that I wanted to share with James is about the school system. I think it was Josie the outlaw that talked about how the school system is based on the Prussian model.
Right.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, they invented it. Public schools were basically invented to brainwash children. That's basically what they were.
So that was a pretty shocking revelation to me. My wife went to school to become an educator, and I asked her if she's ever heard of the Prussian system, and she basically said she didn't. And so I saw 2 videos about that, and it seems to be correct that it was based on the Prussian system. And I went to Wikipedia to look it up, and they did mention about how the system was made to have people be obedient. So for me, it's kind of disturbing in a way, because there's a lot of parallels that I can see between basically the German state and our current situation here in America about patriotism and all that. Because I've always wondered, like, how do you not, I don't want to use the term program, but how do you make people loyal to the state? Because not everybody is patriotic. But
right, and
I guess
you gotta watch using the word patriotic too, because like the original word of that, patria is where that comes from. That's from Middle French and translated to Greek, and what that really means is countrymen, fellow countrymen, love of country, love of fellows that share your land with you. Whereas it has no reference to government. The word nationalism is really what love of government is, but most people conflate the 2 words as if they're the same thing. Like, patriotism means love of the state. It really doesn't mean love of the state. You can be a patriot and be an anarchist.
Oh, so there you go.
You know who Samuel Clemens is, right? Mark Twain?
Yes, I know who Mark Twain is.
He once said that love of I think he said nation, but I'll change it to country. That way it makes it easier. I think he said the only rational form of patriotism is love of your country all the time and love of the government when it deserves it.
Interesting.
Yeah, for real. Mark Twain, I know, is an atheist. I haven't read any of his work. Some of the things that he wrote supposedly are on the banned list for public schools because they have racial overtones.
Right.
But perhaps I'll get a chance to read up on that. But let me see. We were discussing the Amanda Knox case earlier. Do you know anything about her?
I've looked into it a little bit. I ain't going to claim to be an expert, but I mean, as far as I know, she's innocent. I don't see any physical evidence that links her to the crime, except talking points by the prosecutor. Like everything they come up with, like the murder weapon, they didn't find it at the scene. They found it in her kitchen, and then it's got no blood of the victim on it at all. It's only got her blood on it. Well, it's her knife. I mean, people cut themselves with their own knives. And then there's all the witnesses. Like the one witness that testified was conveniently used in a number of cases by the prosecution. So I mean, and nothing to do with her.
Are you talking about the black guy?
I don't know what color he was. I read about it, so I didn't get to see a picture of him.
Yeah, there's a black guy. They were saying that he was actually a police confidential informant, and they were saying that that there was actually evidence to show that he was the one who broke into the home and killed her, because he was already breaking into other homes, and when they found like the blood from him, I think they even said they found DNA, like as far as sexual on the victim.
Gweed, yeah, Gweed. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that dude. Exactly. That dude's the one that confessed to it. And he, every time they've called him into court in these cases, he won't open his mouth when they ask the question, was the two people that, Amanda Knox and her ex-boyfriend, were they there? And he won't say nothing. And then in an interview, he said after I think either before or after the last verdict came down not guilty, he gave an interview to a reporter and said, they weren't there, but they've told me they're going to give me a hard time in prison if I testify that they weren't there. So I'm going to choose to keep silent because I don't want to have a hard time in prison. I just want I want to do my time and be done with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were even saying that that maybe the main reason why they keep on going after Amanda Knox is because he was a confidential informant, and if the cops had a confidential informant and they let him go, he went to go he committed a murder this time. They're like, oh, this is egg on our face. We let this murderer go free, and he killed somebody.
I think that's why they found her not guilty.
It's like an embarrassment on them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why they found her not guilty too in the second trial, because they knew she would leave the country.
Exactly.
So they were like, let's get this international incident out of our hair, let her go, and then we can go ahead and reconvict her but not extradite her. Like, they're going to try to extradite, but and the media is making a lot of hoopla about it, but if you read the extradition treaties, they say that you can't violate double jeopardy for a United States citizen. So they're not going to send her back.
And that's what they were saying.
Okay, well, you're pretty much caught up as far as...
Yeah, you know what's going on, brother.
And James covered the double jeopardy thing. I got some clarification on what it means and the stipulations and everything. So it seems like the treaty is clear, but yet I saw some video on Daily News. It seems like she was still worried. She's saying that she needs help. So if the law is clear that she cannot be extradited, what would she be worrying about?
I'd be worried too, because the government does whatever they want to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
she knows that.
So basically, even though it's on black and white paper, they could still kidnap her and send her back to Italy just to appease the Italians, basically.
Sure.
Yeah, because I remember I think I forgot, it was a guy named Ironheart or something. He killed an American here a while back, years ago. Then he went to Italy, and they were really trying to get him for a long, long time, and Italy wouldn't bring him back, or wouldn't bring him to the United States for a long, long time. But then they finally did, I think, yield to U.S. pressure, and then send him back to the United States. I think he was a serial killer, or he was just a regular murderer. His name was, I think, Ironheart or something like that.
I think
this
was
an American.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to try to find out if this was an American that committed a crime in the U.S. and then ran to Italy. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I can't remember exactly, but I know he killed a American woman. He was in Italy for a while, just out and about, and then I think Italy just fell under pressure and sent it back. I can't remember the exact guy's name though.
I was going to say, I think there's
shows.
I was going to say, I think there's like a less than 1% chance they're going to extradite her, but if you're her, that's enough reason to cry and worry. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that she's just upset because she's like, man, this could happen, and that's enough. 28 years is a long time to spend in prison with a bunch of, Italian ladies that don't really like American women. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Then they were saying, I think because of the way she was first looking when she first came. When they initially charged her and nobody knew who she was, when you saw her in the Italian courtroom, it looked like she was emotionless, like she didn't have any feelings or anything like that. So that kind of made her look bad the first time when they found her guilty. But then the second time, that's when she was more softened and more, later, like she was showing a lot more emotion than she found out guilty. When she came back, though, that's when she started doing, I guess, the PR. Her hair was cut short, and you could see her, and every time she talked, it seemed like she was about to cry or something like that, So it's like, it's a different look and a different attitude,
That's an unfortunate thing overall. I mean, there still is somebody who's dead. So if Amanda Knox doesn't get extradited or whatever, I guess the case goes cold, right? I mean,
no, they got Gweed. He's in prison. Gweed is in prison. The dude admitted to it and got a prison sentence.
Okay, so if that's the case, then why they still messing with Amanda?
Because it's political.
That's what a lot of people
they have a whole set of parties that don't like Americans. So this was like, and they invented paparazzi. So they sensationalized it, and they convinced. You remember like the Trayvon Martin case, like how they sensationalized the hell out of that, and almost all the facts they reported in the first couple months were completely false. That's exactly what they did to her over there. And, people go by the first reports. They don't know that first reports are usually wrong, so the whole thing got sensationalized, and now they hate her, and this is a good outlet for their anti-Americanism, and, that all kind of thing.
Okay. And earlier we spoke about, I was about to say Trayvon Martin. George Zimmerman. He basically got himself into a situation where he wants to box for charity, and apparently the rapper The Game is volunteering to fight him, and Zimmerman is saying that he wants to do this for charity, and I think that he's just an attention whore. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, he didn't come up with the idea, they did, and then he was offered the idea, and he said okay. And I don't think he's just doing it for charity. I thought he was going to get paid, too. And he does have an immense amount of legal bills, so that might have something to do with it if he's being paid. If he's not being paid, maybe he is an attention whore, maybe he's not. I don't know. That whole case got so blown out of proportion in my mind. They made it something that it really wasn't. And, I mean, he's not a good person. I'm not claiming George Zimmerman's a good person, but if anybody was surprised by that verdict, they weren't paying attention to the case because the facts just weren't there to convict him. They just weren't.
Yeah. I blame it on the actual state. They knew they didn't have enough to charge them what they charged them, and it was like they did. I don't know. I don't know. It was the state's fault to me the whole time.
Right.
I was told, I forgot who told me this, that George Zimmerman had a lot of supporters, and that his bills were paid for. So I didn't know that he has outstanding legal bills at this point.
Me too. I thought they were paid for too, because I thought they were paid for.
Well, I know he's he's got his own armed guard and stuff now, and I don't know how much of that's being paid for by charity or whatever. Maybe some of his legal bills were paid. Maybe they're all were paid. I'll claim ignorance on that because I don't know for a fact one way or the other. I knew for a while he was racking up millions of dollars in bills, and they were trying to drum up money for him, but I didn't donate, so I don't. You know what I mean? I stayed out of that whole part of it.
Okay.
I know that the company Caltech that made this line.
Mhm.
They invited them over to their plant over there in where they manufacture the guns over there in Texas.
Them guns are crappy. I mean, I've owned it to Caltech. Those are some of the worst 9mm you could ever own.
He took pictures with the manufacturers, some of the employees, and everything.
That's disturbing. I did
not know that.
Yeah,
that is disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. They actually did. The company, they were like, hey, come on down. We'll invite you to our manufacturing plant. And when it came on down, they took pictures and everything.
Like, why? If you were them, why would you want that kind of negative press for your manufacturing system?
I don't know. I guess some people just do a analysis that they think that it's not bad publicity.
Yeah,
and some people go by the adage that bad publicity is still publicity, and it's cheap, and it spreads faster than good publicity. So,
I guess those guns. I mean, like I said, I've owned a Caltech 9mm. They're some of the most inaccurate piece of crap you will ever buy. So, I mean, I guess in their mind, they're probably thinking our gun can't get any worse quality. So maybe a little bad press would be good press because all the press we ever get for these guns are bad because they stink.
Exactly.
Well, there you go. So this is the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show. My name is Reggie. Our guest tonight is Tony, and my co-host is James. If you wish to call in, the guest call-in number is 646-652-4442. Once again, that's 646-652-4442. Tony, we're thinking about moving the show to daytime time frame because it gets late and we would like more callers. So, do you work in the evening or what's your status?
I work all kinds. I play poker for a living, so I play when all kinds of different hours, different days, mostly on the weekends. But I mean, every other weekend or so, I usually come home on a Saturday or whatever. That's how I catch your show. And sometimes if something's real slow where I'm at, then I'll just go upstairs to a hotel room and catch a show on Blog Talk or whatever. Sometimes I'll watch TV. It just depends. But whenever you do it, just let me know when you're doing it, and I'll try to catch it because I kind of make my own schedule.
Okay, that's excellent. I've never met a person who plays poker for a living. How's that like?
Exactly, bro.
It's not really. I'm not glorifying it. I mean, I'll just put it like this: I'm not balling. I'm getting by.
Okay. Well, I mean, it may not be the most glorious thing, but it's good that you are able to set your own schedule. I can tell you that much.
Man.
Yeah, it's good for peace of mind. Believe me, I've worked regular jobs in my life. Last job I had before this was I was a carpenter, and then before that I was in the sewer business, like sanitary sewers, like the most disgusting things you could imagine: rats, roaches, used female stuff, and shit and piss and all that. And I mean, I've done some disgusting work, some hard work, and I didn't like it. So I was like, I'm doing something else.
Okay, well, I don't blame you at all. And since you've called before and we know a little bit more about you, I want to know how did you get introduced to the whole anarchy thing? Because I mean, this is kind of new to me, and James, I assume that it's kind of new to you too, right, James?
Of course, yeah.
So, like, how did you get introduced to this whole thing?
My journey was kind of weird. Like, most people, I think, today come to it, in the United States anyway. Overseas is different. But in the United States, they mostly come to it because they were, like, conservatives or, and then they became, like, libertarians either because they, like, read Ayn Rand and thought, well, objectivism's cool. And then they looked at objectivism and libertarianism and went, libertarian's better than objectivism. And then they went that route. Like, they kind of started off sort of right of center. I was left of center. I started off, I grew up in Cleveland, which is a heavily Democratic town, so I was always, Democrat this, Democrat that, steal more money from the rich, give to the poor, that kind of thing. And then the older I got, the more, miserable I got with myself and life and stuff. But I didn't realize it because I was young, and I just started getting meaner with my politics. Like, I became a statist communist. Like, I wanted to take everything from everybody, no property, and and just have everything redistributed. And I was totally ignorant about, like economics and ethics, and I had no real philosophy. It was just all pragmatics, And then, I started reading some people who were more left libertarian. They were smaller government, that they were still libertarian. So I stayed on the left and kept moving in that direction of, well, maybe government doesn't solve all problems. Maybe, the way to stop starvation isn't to go the route that Mao and Stalin went, because they actually starved to death tens of millions of people trying to do it, and, Pol Pot and all that. And I just kept looking and saying, okay, well, all right, communism as a state version doesn't work. How about we shrink this down a little bit, that down a little bit. And the more I got into it, the further I went. I got smaller and smaller government as time went on. And eventually I started reading anarchists, the individualists, like, Lysander Spooner and Benjamin Tucker. And I even read, like, some of the anarcho-communists, like Tolstoy and, Kropotkin. And, I kind of started to see that there was the thing with economics, the fight over capitalism versus communism, or even like small government, libertarian capitalism versus, kind of like European state socialist models that a lot of the Democrats like. it's really just a fight over preference. And if we didn't have a state, the preference we could all have what we wanted at the same time and just not force each other into each other's systems. Whereas if you have a state, you have to have one system and you have to force it on everybody who doesn't want it. And nobody gets really what they want because it's political. So everybody kind of like gets a little piece of what they want, and nobody's entirely happy. You know what I mean? And I just thought that was a bad idea. And then I got into the ethics of it more and more and started realizing not only pragmatically isn't it better in a utilitarian sense to have a state, but it's all, whether you're talking about organizational methods, democracy versus anti-democracy, or, like I said, free markets versus anarcho-communism or anything in between. But also, ethically speaking, it's not right because the state is essentially, to me, I hope I'm not going out on a limb too much, but to me, the state is essentially organized crime. It's declared itself legal because it's the most powerful organized criminal group in a specific area. So they say everybody within this area, we're allowed to extort you. We'll call it taxation, and that makes it okay. We're allowed to kidnap you and put you in a cell for a victimless crime like drugs or prostitution. We'll call that imprisonment and arrest, and that's okay. We'll murder you 10 years after you committed a crime, even though if anybody else did that or hired anybody else to do that, that would be considered murder or contract murder. But when we do it, we'll call it the death penalty or capital punishment, or wars of aggression and occupation that have nothing to do with self-defense. We don't call that murder, we call it war. And it's just euphemisms, really, to cover up for the fact that they're just a mafia, really, is what they are. They're just the only mafia that's strong enough to declare themselves legal, and all competing mafias illegal in a specific area. So I kind of came from the left, and I got further left and to the point where I don't even think left and right exist anymore.
Okay. Well, James and I are atheists, and James has had his experiences, and he was telling me earlier about when he went to California and how he met some Muslims and the things that he went through. And, I'm an atheist because basically I took the time to educate myself about my religion and some other religions, and here I am. So my question is, do you find yourself being, separated from your old friends because you're so educated now about the things that you just mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't hang out with none of the same people no more. I still got love for them, and they still got love for me, but it's from a distance because I can't sit down and have it. Like, even my family, like, I can't have Christmas dinner. We just had, last Christmas, everybody come over, and, it's like my one brother's constantly got to try to bring stuff up that he knows I don't agree with. And he tries to, like, push his opinion. And it's like, dude, I'm going to say something because I don't want to hear that nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, he'll talk about, like, the way to solve all problems in the world is to use violence. And then I'll have to mention, well, the problems that you're trying to solve with violence are actually started by violence, right? like if you took the violence out of the equation to start with, then you wouldn't need violence in self-defense. Like, I'm all for self-defense, but if nobody initiates aggression against you, what are you defending yourself from? But he don't think you should just use self-defense. And so it's just I have to distance myself from a lot of relatives. Yeah, I don't disown them a way a lot of anarchists do because I don't feel like you should be without a support system. And I think that you can love people who completely disagree with you provided that you're not, like, in a revolutionary system. Like, if the revolution broke out tomorrow, a violent revolution, clearly I'm not going to be able to trust that brother. You know what I'm saying? He's going to turn me in. So that's a little different. But in the context of, like, right now, I can associate with him on holidays as long as I kind of bite my tongue a little bit, which it sucks. But like you said with atheism, like, I went from a Catholic to I consider myself a deist now, and I made a stop off at atheism at some point. And I'm not saying that you should be a deist. I'm okay with atheists completely. I totally think it's a logical belief system, or lack of belief system, I should say. But if you're on a continuum of, like, atheist to the most theistic person possible, a deist is like 1 inch from atheism. We're, like, right next to you guys on this continuum. So, like, we're going to have far more in common, and I always hang out with atheists and anarchists and even small government libertarians because they're more close to me on these continuums of philosophy, ethics, religious or lack of religious belief systems, than all these other kinds of people in the world. So I'm always in the minority, always. But I think of that as a good thing because I figure the majority is almost always wrong. I mean, the majority supported slavery. The majority supported women not having rights. The majority supported treating children like their property and not people. And and you can go through history and just look at what the majority supported, and that's why democracy don't work, because it's just built on an informal logical fallacy. It's the majority is right, but they're almost never right. They get a couple of things right, just like a broken clock gets things right twice a day.
Right. And when I first understood that I became an atheist, I really was worried about my dating potential, to put it in the politically correct term. So how does that affect you as far as your personal life, as far as in that arena? Because I know James right now, if I remember correctly, James, you're still dating the young lady who's a Christian, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah, but she's a cool Christian, so she allows him to be himself, and so
every day she's always telling me, like, dang, how likely is this? How crazy is this situation?
So yeah, I think she's in a questioning mode. But like, what about you, Tony? Like, being an anarchist and a deist is not something that I guess some people meet every day. Like, how does that affect you as far as with the ladies?
Like, I mean, I could date a lot more, but I choose not to, because I won't date a woman who's not at least a small government libertarian. She has to at least understand the basic concepts, and she doesn't have to take them to the logical conclusions of anarchy. I figure I can talk her into that over a period of years if we were to get in a long-term relationship, because it's just a matter of logic and reason. If I wasn't convinced of that, I wouldn't be one myself. As far as religion, almost nobody's a deist, so I don't really care what somebody's religion is as long as they don't seek to impose it through force, and that's either on me in a relationship or it's on my children if we have children. And I also mean in terms of laws. You should not be, like a Christian, let's say, would be against using alcohol, drugs, etc. That's fine. That's your personal life. You should teach that to your family and stuff, and that's great. But don't go to the polls and vote for prohibition. Don't vote in favor of people who want to keep drugs illegal. And, if you keep it out of the political arena, which is the arena of violence, then I'm okay with that. And like I said, with religion, there's almost nobody's a deist. So me finding a deist girl and an anarchist girl, I mean, I'll never get laid.
Yeah, that's basically the crux of it. As far as like what I was worried about, I was like, man, I figured almost everybody around me was a Christian of some sort. So I really felt like I was gonna be pretty much celibate, not by choice, but. I'm glad that you have that positive perspective and very, very rational. So I think it's going to happen because, later on I found out through Facebook there's a large contingent of atheist people out there. And, I do a lot of my socialing on Facebook. And our group, Haitian FREE Thinkers, for those who are listening and will be listening, is functioning basically on Facebook. It's a cyber thing right now because we're all over the place. So, but at least it gives people an outlet to get together and exchange ideas because it's important. It gives people that very human need to socialize and be together. The other question that I have all the time when I'm reading or watching stuff on anarchy or anarchy-like type of things is perhaps, everything, even though to me I agree with a lot of it and it sounds good, perhaps it's just, like a dream or like something that's going to stay in a theoretical state versus becoming a reality, like where people are actually going to practice it and it's going to flourish. Do you think this is a realistic perspective that I have with anarchy?
I mean, I think it's completely possible, and I do also think it's inevitable that it will come to pass. But is it going to happen in my lifetime? Probably not, no. I don't expect to see it at all in my lifetime. I look at it like the Enlightenment, the Enlightenment that gave birth to atheism, really. I mean, if you think about it, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Enlightenment, right?
I am.
Okay. Well, the Enlightenment took 2 to 3 centuries. So, I mean, it's not like it happened overnight. You know what I'm saying? And I think anarchism is kind of like that. I think it might even take longer, though, because you were reading Larkin Rhodes' The Most Dangerous Superstition or whatever, about, how government is basically a religion or a cult. I mean, it is really the hardest religion to break because people really do believe in it in such a strong way that it even overrules their other religions. Like, we live in a country full of people that say they're Christians, some of them say they're Jews, some of them say they're Muslims, some say Hindu, Buddhist, and some even say atheists, right? But most people who are those things are not really those things because their God is government. And when their God says to do something that violates the other God or the other lack of God's morality, like if you draw your morality as an atheist from logic and reason and epistemology and metaphysics as opposed to, a religious doctrine, or if you're a religious person, you draw your ethics from religious doctrine and not logic and reason, and I think that's bad, but whatever. I'm not going to dog them right now. But, however you get your ethics, if they're overruled by a government authority, then it's clear that you have a religious belief in it. And that's how I view, I was talking about government in the metaphor of like or an analogy of a mafia. It can also be looked at as a cult. Nationalism is a cult. The God that nationalism worships is government. Its parasitical political class is the priest class. You've got, anybody who questions government outright is committing blasphemy. You've got your anthem is your hymn, your pledge is your prayer, your flag is your cross. I mean, you can just go down the line of how the religious symbolism is there and how people really have this strong attachment to it to the point where they can't question it. I was just commenting on a story about a woman just tonight that had her hair forcibly cut and her weave pulled out by police officers, and they fired the policewoman who did it because they were claiming she was suicidal, and her weave was like not even shoulder length, and they're pulling it out. I mean, it might have been shoulder length at the most, and they're pulling it out, and they're doing that to humiliate her. They're doing it because she smarted off or something. You know what I mean? They're not doing it because she's going to commit suicide. It's crazy talk. And, the whole thing was people on here were defending her, the female cop. They're defending her, saying, oh, no, this is perfectly fine. This is perfectly fine. Anytime a government official does something that you or I would do that would be considered assault, they will back up the government official. That's how you know it's cultish behavior, because if you or I pulled a woman's weave out or started cutting her hair against her will, strapping her down in a chair, other officers holding her down, but they weren't officers, that wouldn't be, So they fired this policewoman, and even some people were like, well, that's good. I'm glad she was fired. But to me, that's not even enough. They should charge her and all the police officers that held this lady down with assault, and they should be fired on top of that. They shouldn't just be fired. If you or I did it, us losing our job would be the least of our worries. So, I don't know. Yeah. To me, it's just government is a bad thing, and if I believe that honestly, from an ethical and and I think markets can handle, whatever markets demand, markets will supply. If people, this is a long thing, I won't go into it, but basically, if somebody during slavery times in the United States would have been an abolitionist, like say I'm the abolitionist, and some guy who's pro-slavery would have said, but who will pick the cotton if not for the slaves? The answer should always be the same answer. Who gives a damn? Slavery's evil and wrong. We got to abolish it. But they want pragmatic answers. But if you would have gave them the truthful, realistic, pragmatic answer, it would have made you sound crazy. Well, there's going to be these big machines, and they're going to pick cotton at a rate of one man working the machine will do the work of 50 slaves and do it in just an hour and make cotton cheaper, and it'll run on dinosaur juice that comes out the ground called fossil fuels, and we'll discover that too because of necessity and because the market demands it. And they'd have looked at you and thought, you're crazy. This dude's nuts. Get him away from me. But in reality, that's exactly what happened. So when people theorize...
Yeah, but we didn't know that. We wouldn't be able to know that in that case.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even the theoretics of the abolitionists back then would not have been able to tell you how the cotton would have got picked. The point should always be, it doesn't matter how it gets picked. Is it evil the way it's being done now? That's what should matter. If you think extortion is wrong, then that's all that matters. When people say, well, how would police be done? Well, you can theorize, but that doesn't mean that's actually going to be the way it's done. It might sound plausible. My theories, I think, are pretty plausible. they're also borrowed from other people like Stefan Molyneux or Larkin Rose. There are a whole bunch of hundreds of guys that I've read. But all those theoretics are just theoretics. They don't really matter. What matters is it evil to extort people, and is it evil to use government threats of violence to keep out competitors to provide the same exact service the government is coercively monopolizing? If the answer is yes, it's evil, then you have to get rid of it. There's just no other way around it. You have to get rid of each piece that's evil. And when you break it down, there's nothing the government does that doesn't predicate itself on evil. It's an ends justify the means argument. It's what government is.
Okay. Well, this is the Haitian Free Thinkers show, and you're with Reggie, Tony, and James. Our calling number is 646-652-4442. Once again, that's 646-652-4442. Our contact information is HaitianFreeThinkers@gmail.com. You can call us on our Google Voice number, which is 678-820-9474. So you're listening to Tony. Tony is an anarchist, a deist, and a very, very, very smart guy. So one of our favorite callers, and we're thankful that he's joined us tonight. The time is now 12:36 a.m. Is anybody else watching the Super Bowl today?
You guys?
Okay. I am going to be watching it, hopefully, and, because, I'm into football, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Are any of you having an issue with the time, 12:37 a.m.?
Oh, no. Not at all. I'm going to love it. I'm going to be glued in watching the game. I want to see Peyton Manning. I want to see if he's going to win one more with a different team, man. I want to see it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap the show up in a few minutes, but since Tony's on, I want to throw some questions that I've had in mind that he'd probably be able to answer. But basically, I saw a documentary about some young ladies in Ethiopia who have this problem, this ailment, if you will, this physical problem, because their culture over there, the men marry the ladies, really young, and they get pregnant really young, and so it affects their bladder, I think it is. And so there was this white lady who's a doctor. I think her and her husband came to visit Ethiopia, and she ended up staying, and her husband died, and she's been over there for 30 years or whatever it is. And so I'm watching this thing, right? And there was this one featured young lady, and she was crying because she was like, she was thinking about killing herself because, the culture is that, you have to produce babies or whatever the case is. And it really bothered me because, this is a correctable situation where I feel like I would go to that part of the world and basically try to tell them that, hey, don't do this because it has this kind of an effect on the ladies. But another part of me says that, maybe I would be just like the, not evangelists, what do you call those people that go around trying to convert people?
Missionaries?
Yeah, missionaries. And when I was growing up, I really had this hatred basically for, the Christopher Columbuses of the world. And later on I read some of the Bartholomew de las Casas book, The Destruction of the Indies. And then I read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe in high school. So basically my question is, at what point do you feel, if any, is it okay to interfere in other people's culture?
Yeah, I think you asked me this time before last on a different show, but I'll answer it again. It's okay to try to convince people through non-coercive means. I don't think the problem with most missionaries is they weren't there to be nice people. They were coercive. You know what I mean? They would, treat, they're savages. If we don't convert them, then they deserve to die, and like that kind of deal. And a lot of missionaries that go to Africa and stuff, what they'll do is they'll say, well, we'll give you food if you're hungry, provided you let us brainwash your children with our religion. You know what I mean? That shouldn't occur. You shouldn't say food is predicated on brainwashing. It should be, you want some food, we'll give you some food, and if you want, we have these services over here, but you don't have to go. It's not necessary to get the food. So, it's okay to spread any message, whether it's truth or untruth, provided that you're not using coercion. And the fact that you have truth on your side and ethics, that you've derived from logic and reason on your side makes it really doubly okay. So I wouldn't have a problem with you going over there and spreading a particular message, as long as it wasn't done through force. You don't use the government to do it. You don't, try to ply people into your message by offering food, but only if they listen to your message, that kind of stuff. If you just said, try to convince people, and the funny thing about truth is, man, as the old saying goes, it's a brush fire in the minds of men, and I should say women too, but obviously that's not the quote. But it sets off thinking, and thinking when you start to really do critical thinking, it can't be stopped. It spreads like fire, or like a virus. And then one person tells it to another, and another to another, and before you know it, it's just spreading so fast it's uncontrollable by any force of violence out there, whether government or not. And so I'm okay with you doing that. I don't think you're wrong. I do think that our point of view, though, culturally, is a bit spoiled. We do have a Western kind of point of view that says, well, it's okay to circumcise a boy, but it's not okay to cut off the clit of a girl. Well, they have the reverse thinking over there, and who's right or who's wrong? I'd say they're both wrong. They're both genital mutilations, you know what I mean? But the whole idea behind our cultural norms and their cultural norms, sometimes neither one's right, sometimes one's right, sometimes both are right. In this case, if women are forced to have kids against their will when they're young by a cultural norm, then that cultural norm should be questioned. And you going over there and asking people to question it is not a coercive act. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. That's not wrong.
Okay, well, you have anything about that, James?
No, not at all. I think we had answered that question last time. Basically, it's not wrong. I mean, if you're helping people, but I think you should do it like more as an educational thing, as more like, here's an alternative. I know you guys have been doing this for years, but here's a different way, or a different way of thinking you guys might want to think about, because what you're doing now is hurting the girls. I wouldn't say forcefully, but just go in there and educate them. And then it's their choice after that.
Okay, well, I forgot that I had asked the questions, but it just came to mind because probably something that Tony brought up. But I'm very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about that brush fire that he talked about. I'm passionate because, I personally, I love to learn. I like to be challenged. Like the circumcision thing is another thing that came up when I was taking philosophy, when we had a case study where there was an African woman who immigrated to France, and she came from a society where they circumcised girls. So she had a daughter who was born in France and is a French citizen. She took the daughter back to her homeland in Africa. They performed the circumcision. They came back together, and I think one of the neighbors snitched and told the authorities that this woman circumcised her daughter. Then they took her to court, and basically they asked us, is the mother in the right to perform the circumcision? And I think this was one of the first times that I've heard that women or females got circumcised.
I hate that idea. When I first heard about that female circumcision, it enraged me. It enraged me.
Right, but then, like Tony mentioned, it was males get circumcised in this part of the world. But I'm not pro. I'm anti all circumcisions. But I've had people want to defend the male one, but they have a problem. I think everybody I know has a problem with the female one. But
I didn't know that I had a problem with the male until it was something I was reading, and it was just it was just saying something that it was a Jewish propaganda or something like that. And when I first read it, and it was just and it made me mad. I was it made me mad. I was like, God. So
I mean, there was a purpose for it. There was a purpose for it originally, but that was because back in the day, people didn't take baths. You know what I mean? If you don't take a bath, you get an infection. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, I mean, if you look at Greek culture or Roman culture where they took a lot of public baths and stuff, they didn't have that problem. It was only in the other parts of Europe where people, or not just Europe, but other places in the world too, where they didn't bathe. If you don't bathe regularly, you're going to get a urinary tract infection all the time or get a bad, outside the urinary tract infection on your stuff, but I mean, why would you cut that off in the modern day? That's like what you mentioned, Jewish religion. I'm not trying to, jump on their religion as just one religion I don't, agree with, but they're like them and Muslims, they don't eat pork really. That's because they had no refrigeration back in the day. Why are you not enjoying bacon now? I don't understand.
Well, I think the pork thing was brought to light by Christopher Hitchens in his book God Is Not Great, as he examined, why it is that it came to be. He gave some other reasons, but I have a Seventh-day Adventist friend who doesn't eat pork, and he was saying how basically God was warning us about all the ill effects of pork because it's a dirty meat, etc., whatever the case is. But I think both of you are making some great points. As far as the male circumcision in particular is concerned, one of the things that I said to myself is why it would motivate me to like take care of my body is because you want females to pleasure you, and they probably won't do it if your stuff is smelly. So so that's more than enough motivation for me. And I know perhaps where I lived there might be a shortage of water, whatever the case is, but you better believe I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to get what I'm gonna get. So to me, that's how my brain works. It's like, okay, there are some pretty natural motivations to take care of your situation, and that's how we came. It's not a hindrance, but I still hear people like say, well, there's some benefits to it, and to me, it's difficult for me to listen to their excuses.
Yeah, like I've actually read in a magazine it was saying that having that foreskin was actually better for you as far as sexually because it would hold the juices into the lady's let's say vagina while you're in the middle of intercourse, and instead of when you're circumcised, when you're pulling out of the vagina, you're actually pulling out fluids at the same time, so it's drying up down there.
I've heard benefits both, but I don't think the excuses, the benefits are an excuse. Like I've heard the penile cancer excuse, because of course, if you don't have a foreskin, you don't get cancer in the foreskin, but I mean, is that really something that's so widespread that you really need to remove it on millions of little boys? I mean, it's like if the cultural norm was to remove your earlobes, people would be outraged. Like, oh, that's just crazy. What are you doing? You don't cut a child's earlobes off. But this is something way more intimate and important, and yet people are like, oh, no, that's perfectly fine. Because that's how social norms work. People get it in their head because that's the society they live in, that this is normal. It doesn't matter how perverse or stupid it is. They don't, because they're not critical thinkers. If they thought critically, they'd go, yeah, standing back looking at it from a distance, that's stupid and it's weird.
And that's something that ties into my, I think, perception of what I stumbled upon recently, which is that there seems to be a contingency of Muslims in Haiti. And from my perspective, speaking of critical thinking, is that I would hope that the Haitians that are involved in that type of thing over there would get the opportunity to do what we might consider critical thinking. And I just want to know what it is that they find so interesting in Islam, because in other parts of the world, they've had issues with Islam for different reasons. Not to say that Islam overall is bad, but I just want to know, like, how do we, again, talk about critical thinking in general with the general population. And I think it's very difficult sometimes and frustrating because people are very much emotionally tied to their whatever that they grew up with.
I don't know what the fascination is with Islam. I think, the more restrictive a religion is, the more I don't want nothing to do with it. But it seems like some people they're like drawn to it Like they want more restriction, and it's like, wow, this religion over here is not nearly restrictive enough of my personal freedom. I totally want to be. I don't get it. Like that's the opposite way I think. Like I'm thinking like, well, this religion here is totally restrictive, so I don't want to do it.
I think it'll come through. But I don't see it making us like or having a real strong hold on the island. I don't see Islam coming to the island and being that big of a force. I don't see it that way. I don't think it will happen. That's just my personal feeling, though.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to see if I can talk to any of them who are, actively practicing, or someone who got recently converted, because, like, I'm interested in the culture aspect of it, because as a person of Haitian descent, it's kind of like, Haiti has a lot of issues that we could be working on, and I just wanted to know, what attracts them to Islam, but perhaps I'll get the opportunity, and if so, I'll try to apply some critical thinking, kind of like what Tony is doing, and like he said, with the truth, I mean, you would think that it'll have some kind of positive effect on them, but we'll see. And I'm not saying that Islam is, like I said, all the way totally bad and all those things, but it's just that for me, it's kind of like, as far as the practicality of the system,
I don't see it having no use for us. There's no use for Islam.
Yeah, like I don't see it teaching us anything that's necessary for survival or anything.
Yeah, that's why I don't see it being a real strong hold. They'll be like, man, you.
Go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
I figured this is gonna say like you guys are a little different than the Christians who come around here doing the same thing, and people did. I think they'll still hold on to what they've been holding on to for the longest.
The thing I was going to I keep stepping on you. I'm sorry. The thing I was going to say. The thing I was going to say was, if you look at like certain countries, the United States is one of them. But if you look at like the Caucasus over there in Russia, like the Muslim thing, it's preceded by some type of oppression. With like black Muslims in the United States, like when I grew up in Cleveland, there's a lot of black Muslims, and they're not like the totally burqa wearing. They just wear the like kind of lace thing over their head. You can still see their hair through it, but not real clear. You know what I mean? And they dress rather normally. Otherwise, they're nice girls, and they talk, and they like the same music, and they go to parties. And it's not like they're every religion's got its people who are more devout than others. And the mass majority are not as devout. They don't go, like most Christians don't go to church every Sunday, just like probably most Muslims don't go to temple every, or mosque every whatever. And over in the Caucasus is the same thing. Yeah, and the people over in the Caucasus in Russia, them people, what they call the Chechnyans, which is just one small group of them, actually. They're not all in Chechnya. Those people were occupied and murdered and genocided long before they took up Muslim. So to me, the Muslim religion a lot of times is a response to oppression. It's like, well, the people that are oppressing us are Christians, so we're going to take up another religion as a symbol of our rebellion. And then, that's kind of what happened with black Muslims in the United States. The Nation of Islam as such is really a response to the overbearing nature of people who were Christians that were bigots. It's not that the Christianity caused the bigotry, but it certainly didn't help it any, because a lot of people find justifications for their bad behavior, child abuse, slavery. You can just go down the line of, they find that in their religion, because you can reinterpret those books to mean whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
And I think that's a very accurate point there, because from the Haitian perspective, oppression, I'm sure there's a lot of that going on down there, but the number one thing that everybody, I think, thinks about when it comes to Haiti is having some very basic yet important infrastructural needs. And for me, my personal favorite is education, because if Tony teaches me something like poker, right, I could, potentially go into a tournament and win some money, and that would be great for me, But how much of that is going to help me in Haiti, I don't know. I think that we need to learn some basic things. We need to learn about the things that, other people have, like to help us, get to the next level as a society and also on a personal level. And I just don't see Islam necessarily being part of that evolution. But perhaps it's just my opinion. So it is what it is. But like I said, hopefully one day we'll get a chance to talk to somebody who's on the ground in Haiti. And I know there's a lot of Haitians, well, some Haitians that are Muslim in the United States. And I think that dynamic is different because some of our needs are taken care of in a way that perhaps somebody back down in Haiti is not, So, and also culturally speaking, I'm thinking to myself, like, we already know that from our history that we were brought from Africa to what they call the New World, and the colonizers are the ones that gave us the religion, and we are now adopting another religion from further east who themselves engage in the slave trade. I'm not sure if you guys know about the Arabs' contribution to the slave trade, but they've had a lot of slaves themselves.
Sure, yeah, oh yeah. I mean, Sicily was owned by everybody, including North African Arabs.
So there you go. And slavery isn't in the religion and in the Quran. So I mean, you have all these elements, and I'm kind of like asking myself, like, do they know? Are they aware, or do they not care, or whatever it is? But hopefully one day I'll get the answer to those questions. But the time is now 12:57 in the AM, February 2nd, 2014. This is the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show. My name is Reggie. My co-host is James, and tonight we're joined by our special guest, Tony. The guest calling number is 646-652-4442. Once again, that's 646-652-4442. Haitian Free Thinkers is a group on Facebook of Haitian secular people that includes atheists, agnostics, humanists, and anarchists. Because we do have, we have another guy in there who he knows about the whole anarchy thing, and he posts some things, and we just kind of throw some information out there slowly but surely to let people digest. And we know it's not the kind of thing that you can kind of gravitate towards overnight. But James and I, we find it definitely interesting. I look forward to hearing more and reading more about it from Molyneux and some of these other people. I also have this book called The Anatomy of the State.
Okay, by Rothbard?
Yes, on the Kindle, and that's also an excellent book because it's kind of like, it reminds me of when I was deconverting from religion, that somebody's taking the time to answer all the questions and all the objections that I bring up, and just slaps you in the face with facts in a way that makes you come to an inevitable conclusion. So I personally love learning. James loves learning, and I really enjoy the information that you bring forth. But it is getting a little bit late. So everybody, the show should be on iTunes by next week if it's not already. So you can listen on iTunes and catch up on all the shows. I was telling James, or we talked about moving the show to another time slot, only because we want to get more callers and just get more involvement. We already let Tony know. So as of right now, we're still going to be on Saturday evenings at 11:30 p.m. So next week we should still have a show. If there's any changes, we'll let everybody know. But unless you guys have anything else, we'll be ending the show.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, so it was nice having you on, bro.
Yes. Hey, James, Reggie, you guys have a good evening. I'll let you wrap up your show, and man, just keep it up, and I'll try to stop back. And if you're going to change the time, when I come to your show page, there's usually a spot on the side, where comments and stuff is. Try to leave something like that to let me know, so when I go to your show page, because I'm not much for the email and Facebook and all that stuff, so that way I'll have some notice and I can come join you.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely update the show information, and you'll see the time change.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Have a good night. All right, so it's you and I, and this was another excellent show, and I'm going to try to get some rest. We both will be watching the game, and who do you want to win?
Broncos.
Okay. Well, I don't mind. I don't mind the Broncos winning, but since they've already won Super Bowls,
I really want Peyton Manning to win it. The Broncos is not my team. I just really want Peyton Manning to win another one with a different team.
I want Peyton to win it as well, so that he can go away and stop terrorizing people.
I want the reason I wanted to win. I wanted them to show the Indiana Colts that they made a bad decision when they got rid of him too fast.
I think that they've already seen that they made a bad decision. The only good thing about that whole situation is that they did get a good quarterback out of it, so they'll be okay for the long run. But in the meanwhile, Peyton is the best quarterback in the game. I don't dislike him at all. I wish him the best, and he's a joy to watch because if you appreciate good football, then you already know what time it is. So
it's so cool that him and the dad played the quarterback position. Then I don't think he won a Super Bowl, but both his sons, for crying out loud, have won might win two each.
That is pretty crazy. And I was going to say that Andrew Luck's father, Oliver Luck, played in the NFL, but he didn't win anything. But winning the Super Bowl is just generally very difficult, and so a family to have four,
I think they said the percentage, 98% of the people who play football never make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 98%. It's just very, 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 very difficult, but it should be a good game. Hopefully, the weather is not too bad. And no matter who wins, as long as there's no, controversial call or like terrible injuries, I just hope to see a good game. And we'll keep in contact, and we'll figure some things out for the next show. And that's pretty much it.
All right, no problem, man. Thanks again for this show.
All right, so you have a good night, and I'll see you next time.
All right, for sure. Good night.
Peace.
Peace.